Hi, patriots, help me out. I thought you were all about preserving British culture. But there's nothing more culturally iconic than the BBC, yet you're all happy to see that go under. In fact, according to one of our former prime ministers, the BBC is the epitome of what's gone wrong in Britain. It's very bizarre to me. People like David, who always calls out, using his terms, not mine, those foreigners that come over here and attack our women and children, seems to think that Donald Trump is everything that's right in the world. That'll be Donald Trump, who's an adjudicated rapist and whose name is all over the Epstein files at the moment. And David claims that Donald's doing more for democracy than Keir Starmer. But Donald is literally stopping free speech in America. And as for supporting democracy, that'll be the Donald that tried to steal an election. Right-wing podcasts are falling over themselves to tell us why the BBC should be defunded. Bearing in mind that Donald Trump is a convicted felon, Suella Braverman, our former Home Secretary, thinks that the BBC editing that clip is the thing that's done the most damage to him. Interestingly enough, none of these people are cross with the Daily Mail, who have had to issue an apology today to BBC journalist Nick Robertson for literally just making something up. Not changing an order of words, not editing it, literally just made up a story about him. But nobody seems cross about that. Suella thinks that Donald suing the BBC is a way for the BBC to change. But all of this is bonkers. Were the BBC right to have edited that clip? Absolutely no. Should heads roll because of it? Absolutely yes. Is the BBC as an organisation something that we should lose in this country? My God, no. Now, I get why people think the BBC is a rip-off, in so much as they think, well, I don't really watch it, so it doesn't contribute anything, therefore we shouldn't have to pay it. But maybe we should be talking more about what people get for their £3 a week. All the scripted content, all the drama series, world-class documentaries, the BBC Natural History Unit giving us amazing series like The Blue Planet and Planet Earth, all the radio stations, CBeebies and CBBC, who, let's not forget, literally helped children throughout the pandemic. In fact, their education and learning output is really quite impressive. All the regional representation, the sports coverage. But let's talk some more about what it actually contributes to our cultural landscape. The radio stations like 1Extra, 6 Music, that are forever platforming new and upcoming acts. BBC Introducer, which is a national talent pipeline. The amazing live sessions that get streamed. And why aren't we talking more about that the BBC is the largest employer of musicians in the UK? It's got 5 orchestras and a choir. The BBC Proms is the world's largest classical musical festival. But it's not just classical music. It actively supports the jazz scene, the folk scene, traditional music scene, experimental music, world music. Think about all the writers it supports. The output for writers is like no other. Literally hundreds of hours of scripted drama every week. Think about BBC One, BBC Two, iPlayer, BBC Three. All of these components paying writers, script writers, showrunners, story editors. Or what about the fact that the BBC is the world's biggest commissioner of audio drama? It's the UK's biggest employer of comedy writers. The BBC Writers' Room, which really helps up-and-coming writers get an idea of how to work in the field and then supports them as they develop new ideas themselves. But as they shout to support President Trump, who, let's not forget, is suing for defamation, and I repeat again, this is an adjudicated rapist who tried to steal an election, who's eroding the US of their democracy, he thinks the BBC and that edit is enough to have defamed him. And they're rejoicing over the fact that he wants to sue them for billions, which would in effect bankrupt the BBC. That'll be the BBC who brings in nearly £5 billion to the UK economy. That'll also be the BBC that employs around 54,000 people. In an ever-changing landscape, the BBC still over-delivers. For every pound paid in, £2.63 is generated. And a lot of that impact is outside of London, out in the regions. Undoubtedly, the BBC have fucked up, and undoubtedly they should apologise. And they've damaged the integrity of journalism, and they have to work hard to repair that. But that doesn't mean that we should lose the BBC. So I suppose my question is to everybody, why would we want to lose the BBC that gives the UK so much in terms of culture, all because of an error or two or three errors, whatever it turns out to be? Because surely what should be happening is people demand better from them, but then we support it because it gives us so much more. I mean, it's also true to say, isn't it, that Donald Trump is actively trying to shut down any media that don't go along with his narrative. And for sure, the BBC played into that a little bit by fucking this up. But it doesn't mean the BBC as an organisation should be defunded, and we should be celebrating losing something that is so intrinsically British, but also something that we should be so proud of. So I'm confused why the patriots are supporting the American, not the British, as you were.